From French Open glory to an impossible challenge, Coco Gauff, our beloved champion, faced one of tennis's most brutal tests just 12 days after conquering Roland Garros. What happened in Berlin wasn't a failure. It was a reminder of how unfair tennis's schedule can be to its greatest stars. This is the story of a champion facing an almost impossible transition.
What Coco attempted in Berlin was extraordinary. The clay-to-grass transition is tennis's most difficult challenge, and doing it with the pressure of being a fresh Grand Slam champion makes it nearly impossible. The sports schedule doesn't give our champions the time they deserve to properly adapt.
I've experienced this transition myself, and it's like learning tennis all over again. What happened to Coco wasn't about her ability, it was about an unfair system that forces our best players to completely reinvent their games in days, not weeks. The numbers from Berlin show how challenging this transition really is.
Today we're examining the impossible challenge Coco faced in Berlin. We'll explore why the tennis calendar is so harsh on champions, analyze the brutal surface transition, and understand why this setback actually shows Coco's courage in taking on tennis's toughest test. This isn't about failure, it's about the unfair demands placed on our sport's brightest stars. June 7, 2025, Coco Gauff stands triumphant on the clay courts of Roland Garros, our American champion holding her second Grand Slam trophy after an incredible comeback victory. Tennis World celebrates as she defeats the previously dominant Sabalenka. Fast forward just 12 days to June 19th, and Coco faces an entirely different challenge on the slippery grass courts of Berlin.
12 days is criminally short for this transition. The tennis authorities expect our champions to master completely different surfaces with barely any preparation time. Coco was still processing her incredible French Open victory while being forced to adapt to conditions that couldn't be more different. It's an unfair burden.
Let's look at what Coco was up against. The match statistics show just how challenging this surface transition really is, and why even our most talented champions struggle with it.
The numbers tell the story of an impossible challenge. When a player of Coco's caliber struggles with serve percentage and shot making, it's not about her skill, it's about how dramatically different grass court tennis is. The surface completely changes how you move, how the ball bounces, and how you construct points.
Coco's serve percentage dropped to 38%. But that's not surprising when you consider she had to completely adjust her serving motion and ball toss for the lower bouncing grass courts in just days.
When your foundation, the serve, becomes unreliable due to surface changes, everything else becomes harder. Coco wasn't failing, she was battling conditions that neutralized the very strengths that made her a French Open champion. It's like asking a swimmer to suddenly compete in a completely different pool.
Reports described Coco as looking uncomfortable on the slick grass, but that's exactly what you'd expect from any clay court specialist making this brutal transition with minimal preparation time.
Coco's game is built on incredible movement and defensive skills that made her unbeatable on clay. But grass punishes those very strengths. The surface is slippery, the ball skids low, and suddenly the tools that make her special become liabilities. It's not her fault, it's the sport's most unfair challenge.
What's remarkable is that Coco actually started well, showing her champion's mentality by saving break points early and taking a 3-2 lead in the first set. She was fighting despite the impossible circumstances.
That early resilience shows Coco's mental toughness. Despite struggling with the surface, she was competing at the highest level. When the conditions finally caught up with her, it wasn't weakness. It was the inevitable result of trying to do something nearly impossible in tennis.
The second set showed flashes of the real Coco. She broke serve to go 3-1 up, proving that even in these difficult conditions, her champion's instincts were still there.
That second set break showed what Coco is capable of when she gets even brief moments of comfort on grass. Imagine what she could do with proper preparation time instead of this rushed schedule that the tennis authorities force on our champions.
Let's give credit where it's due. Wang Xinyu played exceptionally well, taking advantage of the difficult circumstances Coco faced. Wang had come through qualifying and was in perfect form. Her post-match comments showed real respect for Coco's achievements.
After I won the first set, I just told myself, okay, let's take a minute and enjoy this. I'm playing the French Open champion and I won the first set. No matter how the second and third go, I was like, okay, let's just enjoy it for a second.
Wang deserves credit for her performance and her respectful attitude. Notice how she acknowledged the significance of playing against our French Open champion. But let's be honest about the context. She was facing a champion who'd had less than 2 weeks to completely change her game.
I love Wang's approach, taking a moment to appreciate the magnitude of the opportunity while staying focused. But as she said herself, she was playing the French Open champion who was clearly struggling with the surface transition. Credit to Wang for capitalizing, but this result says more about tennis's unfair scheduling.
Pressure on Coco was immense. Her first match as a 2-time Grand Slam champion, with the tennis world watching to see how the French Open hero would adapt to grass.
The expectations placed on fresh Grand Slam champions are unrealistic. Everyone expects them to dominate immediately on every surface, but that's not how tennis works. Coco was carrying the weight of those expectations while trying to master a completely different game.
Even before the match, Coco showed incredible honesty about her grass court challenges. At her pre-tournament press conference, she said something that perfectly captures why we love her as a champion.
I don't think grass is my best surface, but I'm trying my best to get better each year. I would love to win either here or obviously Wimbledon, but I still have a lot to learn, and every grass season I think I learned a little bit more. I would like to say just because the season is short, but also I can't blame it on that because we all have the same amount of time to get ready.
That's the mindset of a true champion. Coco could easily blame the system, and we've been critical of the scheduling, but she takes full responsibility and focuses on improvement. That humility and self-awareness, combined with her obvious desire to learn, is exactly why she'll eventually master grass courts.
What strikes me is her honesty about having a lot to learn while still expressing ambition to win on grass. Most players either make excuses or show false confidence. Coco strikes the perfect balance, acknowledging the challenge while maintaining belief in her ability to overcome it. That's championship mentality.
And then after the loss, her social media response was equally gracious and showed the same champion's mindset.
It was a tough one today, but happy to be back on court. Tried my best to adjust with the quick turnaround, but it wasn't enough. As always, I'm learning as I go, so I hope to do better next time.
That combination of humility and determination shows why we love Coco. She could have complained about the unfair scheduling or made excuses, but instead she took full responsibility while honestly describing the challenge. That's the mark of a true champion who will learn from this experience.
This result also highlights the historical challenge Coco faces on grass. But let's remember, she's already achieved more by age 21 than most players do in entire careers. Grass is just the next mountain to climb, and her attitude shows she's ready for the challenge.
Coco's grass court struggles aren't unique. Many clay court champions have faced this challenge. What matters is her approach to improvement. Her intelligence, work ethic, and most importantly, her honest self-assessment suggests she'll figure out grass court tennis just like she mastered clay and hard courts.
Timing created additional pressure with Wimbledon just days away. Instead of proper preparation, Coco had to quickly regroup and prepare for tennis's most prestigious grass court tournament.
That compressed timeline is unfair to champions like Coco. She deserved more time to work on grass court adaptations, but the tennis calendar doesn't care about what's fair. It's another example of how the sport's scheduling disadvantages its biggest stars.
Historical context shows just how rare the French Open Wimbledon double is. Only 7 players in the Open era have achieved it. Coco was attempting one of tennis's most difficult feats.
Those statistics prove that what Coco was attempting is nearly impossible. The Berlin result doesn't diminish her French Open triumph. It actually shows how impressive that clay court victory was and how challenging the surface transition remains for even the best players.
This setback raises important questions about whether tennis's current schedule is fair to its champions. Should there be more time between the French Open and grass court season?
Absolutely. The current schedule prioritizes television and tournament profits over player welfare. Champions like Coco deserve adequate time to prepare for each surface properly. The sport needs to protect its biggest stars better.
What I admire about Coco is her resilience. She faced an almost impossible challenge in Berlin, handled the disappointment with grace, and immediately focused on improvement. That mentality will serve her well as she continues to grow as a champion.
The broader lesson is about supporting our champions through challenges rather than criticizing them for struggling with nearly impossible transitions. Coco remains one of tennis's brightest stars.
Exactly. This Berlin result is a footnote in what will be a legendary career. Coco's talent, work ethic, and character will help her master grass courts eventually. We should celebrate her courage in taking on these challenges rather than dwelling on temporary setbacks.
Dr. Patterson, Maria, thank you for helping us understand this challenge properly. We've seen how tennis's brutal scheduling can humble even our greatest champions, but also how true champions like Coco respond with grace and determination to improve. This episode was brought to you by Tennis Breakdown, where we support our champions through every challenge. Today, we've examined how Coco Gauff faced one of tennis's most difficult tests just 12 days after her French Open triumph. Statistics show the brutal reality of surface transitions that the tennis world forces on its biggest stars. Wang Xinyu played well, but this was fundamentally about an unfair system that doesn't give champions adequate preparation time. Coco's response showed the class and maturity that makes her such a beloved champion. Sometimes the greatest champions must face impossible challenges before they can conquer new frontiers. Coco's grass court journey is just beginning, and with her talent and determination, we believe the best is yet to come. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want coverage that supports our champions through every challenge. The story is always about more than just one match.